Meanwhile, you're in prison.
Meanwhile, I'm in prison, yeah.
In the capital of Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And what happens over the next few days?
Not good. Not good. So I'm being shoved, because nobody knew where I was. I'm in the hands of the CIO, which is the Central Intelligence Organization of Zimbabwe, which are like Mugabe's Gestapo, basically. And they're being rough on me. And they're being rough on the men.
What does that mean?
Nothing too sort of dramatic, like no sort of pliers taking fingernails out or anything like that, but just kicks and beatings. And rough. And they're frightened, because they don't know what's really going on. They're just told, these white mercenary bastards,
But you guys are obviously seasoned soldiers, and that's probably strange for them. They don't know what's going on.
They don't know what's going on. And there was a story that we'd come for him, for Mugabe. So they thought we might even be enemies, And then they're interrogating me, and they know everything. They know absolutely everything. And I know from what they're saying that they must have got a massive amount of information coming to them, which must be coming from South Africa. So after a few days of this, I say to the head guy, the head CIO guy, because I knew that the men were being really quite badly beaten up because I bumped into them. Not bumped into them, but we could talk at one point next to the aircraft. And I said, look, you've got to stop beating everyone up. This is just ridiculous, because I will tell you everything you need to know. So you've obviously got a lot of the information anyway. I'll just tell you it. So I wanted it to stop for the men, what was happening. So sat down with them, went through a whole statement, and after I think it was about 6 days, they nearly threw me on a jet to Equatorial Guinea. That was a frightening moment. Very nearly. I was sitting in the car, waiting 3 hours. They said, you're going to Equatorial Guinea. I thought, that's not going to be good.
Because what would have happened?
I think they'd have shot me at that stage of the game.
And they were threatening to, or you think they were actually thinking about doing it?
This is what I think Equatorial Guinea would have done.
Right.
And at that stage.
And you think they were going to put you on that jet or the move?
No, I think that was real, but I think then there was some wobble.
Okay. Do they have a relationship with Equatorial Guinea?
No, none whatsoever. They'd never even heard of the place. It was hilarious because they could only say EG. They'd never say Equatorial Guinea.
They'd never heard of a country in Africa.
No.
Because it's so tiny.
It's a tiny little place. And it's Portuguese, Spanish speaking, not English speaking.
Okay. All right. And then what do they do with you?
Oh, well, then I go to Chikurubi, maximum security, and I know that I'm not going to get fed to the crocodile, at that point.
As in executed? Or going to EQ?
I know that I might be shot if I go to Equatorial Guinea.
Right.
Well, and I know they might hang me in Zim if they just really want to. But I know at least I'm not going to get kind of chopped up and fed to the crocodiles.
Okay. Is that something that they do?
Yes.
As in?
Yes. Yeah. You just disappear. Because nobody knew where I was.
Okay. Nobody, meaning your wife and your business people?
Well, no, they sort of vaguely knew that I was. Obviously, some people knew I'd flown to Zim, the people in South Africa who were part of the plot. But Amanda didn't know where I was.
And so you're thinking they might just make you disappear. Okay.
And
actually feed you to crocodiles, or is that just a term?
No, they do actually feed people to the crocodiles. And they pretended to execute me down by the river the first night. But I knew they weren't going, I knew that was just arsing around.
You knew that?
I believed it.
They take you down with a bag over your head
No, there was no bag.
Oh, and they cock a gun behind the back
Yeah.
of your head and pretend to execute you.
Yeah.
And you convince yourself it's not going to happen.
Well, I thought it was just so unlikely.
Does any SAS training help here?
Yeah, I think it does actually. Yeah.
Just mindset.
You do a whole load of combat survival training, and you get interrogated by the interrogators. And
Because you must have done some interrogating in Northern Ireland.
actually, no.
Okay.
Well, informal.
Okay.
On the street,
Okay.
so to speak.
But you knew kind of the game, and you had done some role playing, so,
Yeah, you knew the game.
and that helped.
I think it does.
Okay.
And you've learnt some things that they taught you, and sort of funny things stick in your mind, and you that just remembering them helps. That it sort of gives you points of reference.
Yeah. What happens next? Is there a trial?
Yeah, that's months later.
Okay.
Yeah, like 3 months later.
So you're stuck in this maximum security prison. It's nasty.
Yeah, it's just horrible. And obviously, you think all the time you're thinking about what's going on, family. Painful.
A lot of solitude. What do you do?
I just walked. I walked and I walked and I walked and I walked. But after a while, I had some books. And then after a while, I started writing a book.
And they let you keep the paper.
And that they kept on actually taking it away, which was very annoying. But in the end, I smuggled the manuscript out of the prison. But this was years later, after I'd written the book several times over, because they'd keep on stealing it.
Okay.
So then in the end, I fooled them into, they thought they'd stolen the book, but actually the book, that was what they stole wasn't the book. What was the book was in my hiding place and then got smuggled out.
And so what ends up happening in Zim?
Well, there were appeals, there were deals, and all the time I sort of knew that the Equatorial Guinea wanted me, I thought, in order to execute me. And in the end, they got me. They bought me.
They bought you from Mugabe.
Yeah. They say for 10 million in cash and 70 million in a soft oil deal.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
For one guy.
For one guy. And the guards knew. And the guards said, my nickname was Shumba. And they said, Shumba, you've been bought and sold. So they said, the diesel on the street in Harare is for you. You've been sold. And my lawyer was saying, oh no, don't worry, it's all okay. The family have got this sorted out. They're going to get you out. Right up until the end. And then one morning I woke up, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and the CIO were in my cell. And I knew immediately that here we go.
How many years had you been there at that point?
4.
4 years.
4, yeah.
So 4 years. And the whole time you're like, what's going on? And the guards, they know what's going on. They think that the deal is happening to get you extradited.
Yeah, well, I had guards who were sort of friendly.
Okay. Why did they call you Shumba?
I don't know, really.
What does it
Shumba
mean?
means lion
Okay.
in Shona.
Okay. So the CIO show up in your cell and you're thinking,
This is it now.
Okay.
They're going to take me. And then begins a sort of pretty unpleasant 4 days when they basically smuggled me to Equatorial Guinea.
Smuggled you.
Well, yeah, because it was, they were kidnapping me out of the prison. It wasn't legal. There was no legal process. So it was rendition. It wasn't extradition. It was rendition. And so they took me to a military police barracks where they'd beaten up. 2 nights there.
Why are they still beating you up?
Well, yeah, that was very annoying. Having been a prisoner for 4 years, you're sort of in the prison and you've got respect. The other prisoners respect you, the guards respect you. It's all quite cool.
They respect you?
Yeah.
Because of your background or the way you treat people?
No, because it's like just the way the prison is, And so suddenly then going back into that whole thing was very annoying.